Okay, and what that basically is the amount of calories that you burn just in your activities of daily living. This is not your intentional workout of the day. This is just what you're doing throughout your day. And we're going to talk about this on the next slide, but basically the amount of calories you burn just in your activities of daily living, that has the highest variance of any calorie burning activity that you do. And so we're seeing a variance of up to 2,000 calories per day with different people and different activity levels, different lifestyles. Studies have shown that the amount of time sitting contributes to significantly higher disease and mortality rates, regardless of physical activity levels. So you may have a great workout first thing in the morning, and then if you're sitting the rest of the day, that can actually be a huge risk factor. Okay, so let's look at this chart again. Again, if you saw our webinar last month, this isn't new to you, but just want to emphasize again that our intentional exercise is actually the smallest category of calories burned throughout the day. And the number one by a long shot is actually sleep. But if you're looking at intentional exercise, you'll notice that your daily activity, or your NEAT section, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, more than doubles your intentional exercise. So think about that as we're looking at habits throughout the summer, through travel, through all of these things, how we can make intentional decisions that aren't actually that difficult to change and to shift in the way that we're approaching life, that can make a huge difference. So I think sometimes we think the little things that we do throughout the day don't make a big difference, but this chart is here to show you that that's not true. So our focus tonight, we're going to do this in two parts. Our focus tonight is all about travel. Summer is the time for traveling, right? I'm going to skip ahead really fast. We are looking at family reunions. We go camping, some of us. Family vacations, road trips, barbecues, fire pits, day trips, work travel. So much happens in the summer with travel that's centered around travel, and we want to be able to enjoy that, and we want you to be able to enjoy that. And so, we've said this before, but we're never going to be the weight loss center that tells you that in order to have success, you have to live this restricted lifestyle with no exceptions for the rest of your life. We want to teach you how to change your approach to the things that you want to enjoy so that you can still enjoy them in moderation. So as we're looking at this, we're going to remember our goals, right? You're working really, really hard right now to achieve a healthy weight, and not just a healthy weight, but a healthy body fat percentage and a healthy muscle mass, right? Because we want to age gracefully. We want the last 10, 15, 20 years of our life to be productive and happy and fulfilling. And this is the way that we're going to go about doing that. And so it would be a shame then to make choices that completely reverse that hard work that you've put in. And so that's what we're trying to avoid. That's number one. But number two, and goes back to what I was just saying, our goal is moderation, not deprivation. And this has to be sustainable. It has to be a lifestyle that you actually enjoy and love. And let me give you an example of that. If you're a patient in our program, you know and love our nurse, Anne, who does all of our phone calls and a lot of our intakes and all of that kind of stuff. She's amazing. She and I have been working closely together over the last couple of months to develop a new program that we're going to start offering, hopefully in the next few months, called a 30-day reset program. And that the goal of the 30-day reset is going to be mostly for people who, A, want to lose 5 to 10 pounds, or B, maybe have been through our program, maybe have slipped a little bit and really want to kind of just reset again, get that last 5 to 10 pounds back off again. And so we've been trying to design a program that will not only be effective, but will actually help people to lose that weight and keep it off for good, just like what we're doing with our longer, more extensive program. And so as we've been looking at that, we've been looking at all kinds of different recipes that we can use in this kind of transitioning off of the meal replacements. We're going to do half the month meal replacements, half the month, good nutrition. As we've been looking at all of these recipes and trying them, Anne said to me one day, I hate Greek yogurt, and all of these recipes that we've been trying lately have Greek yogurt in them. And so we have to make a shift, right? If you're someone who loves Greek yogurt, that may work out great, but as we're looking at a lifestyle that you enjoy and love, it is not realistic that you're going to maintain a change eating foods that you hate, right? And so, excuse me. So in all of these things, we're looking for changes that we can make that actually feel doable. And that's what I want you to watch for tonight, is not, oh my gosh, I have to live this horrible life that is not going to feel fulfilling and happy to me, but instead, like, that's a small change that I can make and still feel like I'm getting the things that I need out of this travel experience. Okay, so we're going to look at this in two pieces. The first part is nutrition. The second part is physical activity. As you know, those are the two biggest pillars in weight loss and maintenance. And so we're going to start with nutrition. So, how can I make good food choices while I travel? If you are sitting there thinking it's impossible, then you're not the only one that's ever felt that way. So, let's just walk through some things, and again, watch for the things that you think, oh, I could actually make that change, and that feels sustainable to me. That feels like something I could do long term. First, identify your known and potential pitfalls beforehand. We're going to go through a list of things to kind of jog your memory. And I encourage you, as we're going through this, pull out those webinar workbooks and write down the thoughts that you're having. Share them on the chat window if you're willing to. But really think through, what are the things that are usually my triggers or my downfalls for making poor eating choices when we're traveling. And poor eating choices doesn't mean everything that's off your normal plan, right? It's okay to eat gelato when you're in Italy. You've got to experience that, and that's okay. Again, it's not sustainable to say I'm never going to do that again. So poor eating choices, we have to define that as well. And really, that's the choices that don't make you feel good, that don't meet your goals, and that don't really fulfill a need of any kind. They're just happening out of default instead of out of choice. And that's what we're really focusing on. Decide what exceptions you want to make ahead of time. That doesn't ever mean you won't make an exception in the moment, but really thinking through that ahead of time is going to help you stay on track more frequently. And then make reasonable commitments to yourself. You're probably going to eat differently on vacation than you do at home, and that's okay. But the goal is to maintain most of your progress, to not set you back a long ways that you're going to have to then dig out of when you get home, and to also enjoy your time wherever you're going. All right, let's look through some pitfalls, okay? We're going to look through several different places that you can be traveling and maybe what that looks like everywhere. We're going to look at on the road, in the air, when you're flying places, when you go camping, if you're involved in family reunions or big gatherings over the summer, and then if you're someone that's taking work on the road and you're traveling a lot. So just a few things here. On the road, I'm not going to read through every one of these, but maybe one of your pitfalls is you're in the habit of just, I know some people like this. There's just every time they get on the road, it's like gas station trips and tons of junk food. And that's just what, the family culture is, that we just like eat licorice and candy bars and soda pop all day long while we're on the road. Maybe that's something that's a barrier to overcome. Also, just getting enough fiber, protein, hydration on the road, that's a real challenge, right? Because a lot of the foods that are high in fiber and protein are harder to take on the road. If you're in the air, eating lots of airport food, it's high in calories, it's low in nutrition. A lot of times, they're so nice to give you soda and chips on the airplane, but that's not necessarily helping you. You've got unexpected layovers and delays that make it harder to plan. When you're camping, obviously, lots of s'mores and hot dogs and all kinds of really fun camping foods that might not meet your regular goals. And it's a lot of extra work to pack healthy when you're already packing so much in and out. Packing fresh stuff can be difficult when you're in a camping situation. Reunions are obviously tricky because you don't have a lot of control over the food. A lot of times, large scale cooking a lot of times means less fresh stuff because people are trying to do what's fast and easy so they can spend more time together. Lots of grazing, lots of snacks being brought in, lots of social eating. And then, general traveling, man, it's just tricky when your focus is elsewhere to really focus on healthy eating. A lot of times you're focused on work or just the logistics of traveling, you're tired and you're not in your home environment. So that can make it hard. Okay, let's talk about just getting started with the right mindset. Okay, so much of changing our habits starts with our mindset. And I love that, Scott. The Clean Simple Eats recipe books have suggestions for restaurant eating. That's amazing. And they do so much to help you with just tips for all kinds of situations. So check that out if you haven't. That's awesome. Okay, so much of this is about changing our mindset, right? So first of all, when you're on the road, think about the consequences of all your food choices. And that doesn't mean that you're never going to choose them, right? But taking the time and the space in your mind to really think through, okay, if I eat this, my weight will probably go up a couple of pounds overnight. That's okay if this is an exception to the rule, right? And it's something that's really important to me. And if it's not something I'm doing every day. If I eat all of this, I will probably feel sick afterwards. If I eat all of this, and the list goes on, and it's going to be different for every person. So take the time to think through, and then when you've done that, you have to ask the question, is it worth it to me? And sometimes it will be, and a lot of times you'll find it really won't be. And that's where we can start to use these mindset shifts to make habit shifts, right? And you'll be choosing it. You'll be choosing it because you want how you feel more than what you want in that moment. And then it really does feel like a sustainable lifestyle change and a lifestyle that you actually enjoy, right? It doesn't mean you won't say, it doesn't mean that you'll say no to everything, but it means you'll say no to more things. So recognizing the difference, again, between exceptions and patterns, right? If you want to stop in Italy and have that gelato, that's different than going out for ice cream every night and getting the extra large scoop. So there's ways that you can reframe these choices that you've made to still enjoy these things as exceptions and not as patterns. Paying attention, we talked about this, paying attention how these choices make you feel and how they affect the rest of your travels, right? And then deciding ahead of time, again, which ones are going to enrich your experience and which ones might actually take away from your experience. Now, I want to just preface this with, you all know that we make money off of meal replacements. And so this isn't meant to be a money builder for us per se. This is just a really great tip if it helps you. It really helps us a lot of times to take some of those meal replacements with us on travel trips. And then when you're in an airport or when you're on the road and you don't really want to stop for that McDonald's hamburger, it's just the only thing that's in sight for the next 60 miles. You have something so that you're not starving, but you're not making exceptions for things you don't actually care about. So I encourage you to consider that as an option when you're traveling in any of these situations. My husband and I both have kind of gotten in the habit of doing that when we travel, just taking a box of them with us. And then in moments where it's not important to us to eat, we use those meal replacements instead, and that can really help keep things under control. Okay, so let's talk specifically about each one of these pieces. So when you're on the road, just knowing your route and what kind of options will be along the way can help. I know from experience that travel is a huge, it's a huge time suck, and it's really difficult to plan all of the things. And so sometimes you're not going to have time to plan every single thing ahead of time. That's okay. That's just one option that may or may not work for you. Bringing a cooler with healthy snack options like cut up veggies, fruits, nuts, sandwiches, lots of yogurt, and to be honest with you, that one doesn't work for me. I've got too many little kids. I've got too many things I'm packing. That's usually not something that is going to happen. But one thing that does work for us is when we stop for gas. Sometimes if there's a grocery store close by, we'll just run in and grab a carton of berries or something like that. Not necessarily something we pack, not hauling around coolers, not having to clean out the coolers at every stop, but just grab a carton of berries and munch on those while you're on the road. Just stick them in the trash can at your next stop. So, any variation of that works for your lifestyle and your unique needs can help with that. When you're stopping at restaurants and you don't particularly care about what's there, choosing grilled meats, entrees with veggies, look for, dishes without a lot of preservatives or fat. Look for lighter places that have a lot of salads, a salad bar. And then, just little things like ordering dressing on the side. I've been amazed at how often I only need half of the dressing cup or even less, right? And so I don't really feel like I'm missing out on any of the flavors, but I don't need the whole thing dumped on there. And those little things add up and make a difference. And then consider finding hotels with fridges and microwaves so you can make your own breakfast. We actually just had a family reunion 2 weeks ago, and it was breakfast on your own sort of deal. And we just brought a bunch of instant oatmeal packs and fed those to the kids in the mornings. And I'm not saying that those are the most nutritious choices on the planet, but as far as high calorie breakfast, it's a lot less than if you're going to IHOP and getting the huge plate, right? And so just thinking of little things like that, meals that don't matter as much to you, you can cut way back on calories. Okay, we've kind of gone over this already, so I'm going to breeze past this. But again, choose the things that you actually care about and skip the ones that you don't. Replace them with something nutritious. Okay, here are some of our favorite road trip tips. And I will tell you, our family, we've spent a lot of years in training. We've spent a lot of years without much money. And so we got really good at road trips. We loved road trips as a family. We wanted to go explore and experience things together, and we didn't have money to fly places. We have a lot of kids. And so we have spent a lot of time on the road over the years, and we've loved it. And so some of the things that we've done, and I've mentioned some of these already, so I'm not going to read through the whole list. But just having something easy in the car, protein drinks, protein bars, something fast and easy. Just changing your mindset surrounding 3 meals a day. You don't necessarily have to eat 3 times a day. If you eat a big, heavy breakfast, you have a snack in the afternoon and then eat dinner. So you don't have to necessarily stop for restaurants 3 times a day either. Consider moving your heavy meal to earlier in the day. Have a big breakfast and then maybe eat lighter at dinner. Maybe have a salad bar at dinner or something. One thing that we love to do is skip fast food restaurants altogether. We can't always do this. There have been times when we've been in more of a hurry, but we try to skip all fast food restaurants, all chain restaurants, and we try to only eat local. So just, find the local homemade, made from scratch foods. And it's been so much fun to experience local food everywhere we've gone. And I think it's healthier than just eating Wendy's, in every town, even though it takes a little bit more effort. One thing that we've done is we've kind of cut out the junk food altogether. We don't really pack junk food in the car at all anymore. And sometimes we need a reward for the kids that they can look forward to. And so we've started, this is kind of silly, we've started buying like Tic Tacs or things that are like no calorie or super low calorie. And so their reward is like they get a couple of Tic Tacs at every stop or something. And they love it. And it's a better choice than going through a whole bag of Skittles or something. So anyway, those are just some fun things that have worked for us. Now, share if you want to as we move on. What are some of the things that have worked for you that I didn't mention? Yes, and if you haven't been on a road trip lately, I hope that you're encouraged to go on one because they're a lot of fun. Let's talk about when you're flying. This is kind of a tricky one because it feels like there's a lot less control. Again, the meal replacement thing is great for this. And this is a really great time to stop and ask yourself, is part of my travel experience really dependent on eating airport food, right? Is that the thing you look forward to when you go on a trip is like, oh, I get to eat the airport fast food, And so that's a great place. I do it out of convenience more than I do it because I really want it. And so that's a great place to just simplify and eat something really easy, whether that's like a protein bar, a meal replacement, or some cut up veggies or, something simple like that, something you grab from home. That's a great place to cut down on the junk that you're eating on a road trip. Knowing again what choices are available is really helpful. Okay, this is a good example of something that we do with our kids on airplanes. If you're looking for a snack to bring, look on the labels, make sure there's no added sugar. But I am big. I mean, way more than I prioritize calories on trips. I'm prioritizing mess. I do not want like smashed up berries in the bottom of my bag. That is like my biggest aversion. And so, I'm always looking for things like this that are no mess, easy to throw out, low sugar, low, I guess it probably isn't super low preservatives, but as far as healthy snacks go that don't make a mess, this is a pretty good one. If it's possible to make a mess with food, my children will find a way to do it. So we're always looking to reduce messes. And again, share what works for you in the comments. We're moving fast through this because I don't want to keep you too long tonight. We want to get to the physical activity part, but keep sharing if you have tips for other people. I'm sure that they would benefit from hearing them. Okay, camping tips. I don't know if you guys are campers. We are not as great of campers as I wish we were. Part of that is we've always had a newborn for the last, 14 years now. This is the first time we haven't had a newborn or a toddler. And so it's just such a pain to bring everything and to get everybody to sleep at night. but I do love getting away from everything, being out in nature. And camping, nutrition wise, is kind of a catch 22. There's good and bad here, right? And so the good news is you are only going to eat what you bring. So you have ultimate control, unless you're camping with other people. But once you're there, you're there. You have what you have, and so you can choose what you're going to bring ahead of time, and then you're not subject to weakness in the moment, right? The bad news is it's just a lot of work to carry in and carry out and to haul in healthy options. So I wanted to give a shout out with their permission. Two of our patients that are some of our veterans, and you heard from them back in February. If you didn't watch their webinar where they talked about their successes, I hope you'll go back and watch it. It was so inspiring. But Steve and Sarah are big campers with their 6 kids, and they gave me some tips. They camp all the time, way more than I do. So I asked them, what do you do when you go camping in the summer now that you've made these big changes? And they've been very successful with our program and lost large amounts of weight and kept it off successfully. So here were some of their tips that I thought you'd enjoy hearing. Bringing a lot of protein and fresh produce for meals. So they're chopping fruits and veggies up ahead of time. Tinfoil dinners are great for camping, and they have lots of veggies in them. Walking tacos, roasted hot dogs, fruit, yogurt, granola. There's a whole list here that they had such good ideas there that you can kind of read through. I thought this was an interesting tip. Weighing and measuring your food before you go helps with portion control. That was a great tip. If you have the time to do that. I know preparing for camping can be really overwhelming. And again, remember, I'm emphasizing this over and over again. Pick the tips out of this long list of tips that we have for every category, and pick the 1 or 2 that are going to work for your lifestyle. You should not be overwhelmed by these lists thinking, oh my gosh, I could never incorporate all of these things. Of course you can. No one can. So you have to look at the small and simple changes that you can make that are going to make a difference. And then the other thing they said that is something we've mentioned already, but worth saying from another perspective, is they just said you cut loose a little bit when you're on a camping trip with your family. You enjoy the camping treats. You make s'mores with your kids. And then you know that when you go home, you're going to go back to your healthier patterns, and that's okay. So loved their tips. Thanks, Steve and Sarah, for being willing to share. And again, drop your comments in the chat if you have some other thoughts or things that have worked for you to contribute. Okay, so reunions and gatherings. How do we eat healthy when we're gathering with family? This can be really tricky because a lot of families, including mine, love to get together, love to bring out the snacks, love all kinds of eating, bonding over eating. And it can be really frustrating if you're really trying to make healthy changes to feel like it's almost impossible when you're surrounded by choices that are going to derail you, right? One of the things that one of my brother-in-laws does that I think is really cool is that he really tries to fight that sometimes. And he will, ahead of the time at the reunion, be like, hey, who wants to join me in a challenge? Let's say we only eat 1 dessert per day and we don't do any snacking or something. And so anybody who wants to join in, and not everybody has to, but everyone who wants to can kind of encourage each other along the way and say, okay, we're all saying no to the potato chips that are out on the counter during lunch, but we're going to enjoy the cookies that mom makes after dinner. We're going to enjoy 1 or 2 of those, right? So just having, a challenge that you kind of do together can be really effective. I love this idea, just an example from my family. Introducing healthier options that kind of become traditions, and kids still love it. So 2 examples of things that are really memorable for my kids who are ages 4 to 14, and every one of them talks about it. My grandpa, so this is their great grandpa, always has a pocket full of those like little individually wrapped spearmints from Costco. And it's not like large amounts of candy and sugar that he's given them, but every time he comes around, and he's now, I think, 86 years old, and he comes in and the kids just flock him looking for those spearmints. And it's become this like fun thing, and he loves to give them out. And it's just a better option than a lot of things that he could be handing out, and they don't care because it's just so fun. My grandma, his wife, always brings a big platter of her famous homemade deviled eggs, and all of my kids ask every single time if she's going to bring them. And so there are ways to bring in fun food traditions that are not just candy and junk food. And so think about some of those traditions that you can start that would be meaningful or fun for your family. And And again, I'm sorry I'm breezing through this without a lot of reflection time tonight, but please drop in the comments if you have other suggestions. Okay, life on the road. If you're someone who's frequently traveling, this can get tricky, right? It's really hard when your brain is elsewhere to be really focused on how to make healthy eating habits happen when you're not in your own home environment. You have a lot less control. I think this number one bullet point is what I'm going to focus on in this slide. You can screenshot this if you want to go through every single bullet point, but really, I think one thing to consider is that we, by nature, are creatures of habit. And it's okay to say that I just have my routine when I'm on the road. I do this for breakfast on my own. Maybe I bring something that's really fascinating. Maybe it's a protein shake, whatever it is. I always bring this for breakfast, or I always stop by the store and get this for breakfast. I always go here for lunch, and I always, pick something that's, easy to find in most places, or a lot of times if you're traveling for work, you're going to the same places over and over again. I always go here for lunch. I always eat this for dinner. And it was interesting. I was reading a book years ago by a man who his whole career is just about increasing efficiency in the workplace. And he's become very famous. He works with Google and Apple and like all of the big companies to help them improve their efficiency. And one of his chapters, he talked about how we have to preserve our brain space for the things that matter the most. And so if you need your brain space reserved for an important meeting or an important event, you don't have a lot of time or space to be thinking about healthy food options. And so creating those habits and just something that becomes automatic and that you don't have to think about. And he was mentioning that, whenever he goes on the road and gives a presentation, he has got the rest of his traveling down to a science where he doesn't ever have to think about anything. He always has the same driver pick him up. He always flies the same airline. He always stays at the same hotel. He always has the same thing for dinner. He always goes to bed at the same time. And so by the time he gets to his presentation, his brain is prepared and ready to focus only on that because he hasn't wasted brain energy on all of these little decisions. And so especially if you're wanting to make healthier choices, get into this habit of just becoming a creature of habit. When you're on the road, this is what you do. And that, I think, will really help. Lots of other great suggestions here: keeping a food journal, knowing where to find restaurant guides, all of those things. But I think that's probably the number one tip that I would give. We're going to skip this. These are some case studies that would be great if we had more time. But let's keep going and talk for a second about physical activity. Okay, back to this chart again that we've been looking at. Remember that we got to throw out all or nothing mentality and recognize that when we're on the road, our exercise patterns will probably be different than our norm at home. That's especially difficult if you're traveling half the time. But you can have a travel routine and a home routine, right? And it can be a little bit different, and that's okay. So remember this concept of NEAT. If you don't have time for a full workout every morning, what you do and what you choose to do with your time during the day can really make a difference. Let's look at some of the ways that we can make that happen. Okay, when we're on the road, first, stop for frequent breaks, okay? Find exercises. This website here, again, take a screenshot of it if you want to look up more later. But all kinds of crazy exercises you can do just while sitting in the car to be burning calories, moving your body, even strengthening muscles. It's amazing because we think when we're sitting, we can't be exercising, but it's not true. All kinds of different things that we can do to strengthen our muscles just when we're sitting for long periods of time. Make it fun. If you're traveling with somebody, make it a challenge. Every time you stop, do push-ups against your car or squats in the parking lot. See how many squats you can do while you're filling up your gas tank. There's so many ways that you can make this kind of a fun challenge, and you'll be amazed at how much more you're moving, even when you're sitting for long periods of time in the car, right? Look for hotels with pools and exercise rooms and use them when you have time. I know you don't always have time, but pack your exercise equipment, pack your shoes, pack your swimsuits. Even if you think you're not going to have time, just have them there and have them handy. Okay, a couple of our road trip tricks. That's a tongue twister. One of the things that we always shoot for, and we can't always do it on every road trip, but our goal is always to limit our driving to 6 hours or less per day. And what we found by doing that is it gives us all these opportunities to stop and experience where we're going. So many times people hate road trips because they're trying to pack 13 hours of driving into a day and they think that it's all about just getting to the destination. We've actually learned over the years, wherever we're going, we should take longer to get there when we can. Obviously, it's tricky with time off work, but we'll even spend less time at our destination in favor of stopping more frequently on the way. And it's been a great experience for our family. Whenever we're driving, if we can do the 6 hours or less per day, we will always plan stops throughout the day. And we'll usually get out and be active. We'll be hiking or walking around, exploring. There's just so many fun things to explore. And when you're having fun exploring, you don't even realize how much you're moving in the process. We, of course, with kids, always try to make time to swim in the hotel pool. That keeps you moving. Um, there are actually, this is worth mentioning. It's a little harder to find, but I think it's happening more frequently. When we lived in the Midwest, there was a chain of hotels called the Even Hotels. So if you're ever traveling in the Midwest, look for those. But some hotels are developing health focuses. So this particular chain of hotels had healthy drinks in the lobby. They had exercise bikes and bands in every single hotel room. So look for those kinds of places that just encourage you to be healthy on the road. If they exist, just Google it in your city and see if there's anything like that. Um, One thing my husband has gotten really good at doing when we're traveling, even if there's not a lot of time, he'll try to get up just a little bit early and take one or two or sometimes all of our kids down to the gym. We always have to check to make sure there aren't other people in the gym so we don't parade 5 kids in there and disrupt their morning workout. But our kids love to be involved and they're learning healthy habits. But this is just part of our routine. This is what we do is we just move. My husband's also been known to take his TRX to the park. While the kids are playing at the park, he's hooking his bands up to the play equipment and doing push-ups in the air. There's all kinds of ways that this TRX can be so portable and just easy ways to do it when you're out and about. And again, get rid of the all or nothing mentality. We don't have to do an hour-long workout. Just the littlest things at every stop can make a big difference. Don't shy away from walking. This may sound crazy, but we've got these 5 little kids, and I swear everywhere we go, sometimes we're downtown big cities, and my husband's like, all right, everybody hold hands, and we're parading through downtown looking for fun places to stop. And sometimes it scares me to death, but I think sometimes just thinking outside the box and knowing you can walk more than maybe even is a little bit out of your comfort zone, make safe decisions, but there are always opportunities to be moving. Um, just hotels have lots of opportunities that we don't think of. If you need a good workout, just run up and down the hotel stairs a few times, in the morning. That can take 5 minutes and really get your heart rate going. So again, share what you do while you're on the road. Airports, this pretty much goes without saying. Again, how much walking is possible in most airports. If you have a layover, um, walk up and down the aisle. Go see what shops there are available. Try to avoid the walkways. The automatic walkways if you can. Sometimes you're late for a flight, but if you're sprinting down a walkway, you're still getting some good exercise. One thing we do, obviously we have tons of bags when we're traveling with kids, so we'll take turns. So one of us will sit with the bags and the little ones, and the other one will take the older ones and walk, and then we switch. So that can be a great way to keep moving in between flights. I think camping is great because a lot of it just involves physical activity. You're putting up camp, you're taking down camp, hauling supplies. It's just a lot of work. And a lot of the activities around are natural ways to move: hiking, swimming, nature walks. Finding campsites with built-in activities can also be helpful, especially if you have young kids. And then just a few things to mention with reunions. This is a hilarious picture because everyone looks really angry, but it's just because they're staring into the sun. We actually had a lot of fun. But just build in activities. If you're in charge of a day's activities for your family reunion, see what you can do that will be fun for your family. But over the years, my family, my siblings, and our kids, we have become more active over the years, and I really appreciate that. This was taken last summer, and we were in charge actually last summer. We said, let's do a fun run, and we did. It was a 2 mile plus fun run, and all of these kids were such troopers, and they were all so proud of themselves at the end. And we met up in an air-conditioned building and played a lot of games at the end and had, drink a lot of water. But just little things, as you're gathering at reunions, think about what you can do, put outside activities around so that you're moving and enjoying the outside together. And you'll be amazed at how that neat number can go up pretty easily. Um, okay, and then again, living on the road. If you're someone who's frequenting hotels, again, let's become creatures of habit. Let's pick a hotel at the places that we most often frequent, somewhere that maybe has some walking paths nearby, or even has great stairwells or convention center rooms, or all kinds of places that you can just walk that will be convenient for that. Those are the types of things that you can create these habits so you don't have to think about it every time you're on the road, that it's just part of your routine. Um, and, again, ask the hotel what they have to offer. Some hotels have exercise equipment you can put in your room. Bring your TRX. Again, if you have a TRX, that's a great way to move your exercise with you. It's actually, if you're not familiar with it, it comes in a little bag that's this big. You pull it out, you hook it to your door frame. You can do all kinds of exercises. You can start at any fitness level you're at, and it's a great thing to bring with you. And here's what it looks like, actually. You can see there's these straps, and it's a little bit tricky for me to explain without you seeing it, but I've seen all kinds of different exercises being done with this, everything from push-ups to pull-ups to push-ups, or I said push-ups, leg exercises, arm exercises, ab exercises. It's so versatile, so easy to take with you. And again, you can start from standing straight up and doing really basic exercises to doing really advanced techniques. And again, with this challenge that we're hoping that you'll all join, we've got an entire video library of instructional videos that can help you get started as well. We have a ShellMed patient that actually owns one of these, and she travels for work every week. And she says this has been a lifesaver for her. She takes it in, like even just 15 minutes a night, she can get a great workout in her room, and it's really easy to throw in her suitcase. So something to think about. This is a great quote. Small and simple things make huge difference. And so, again, I just want to wrap up by reiterating what I said at the beginning and throughout this whole thing. Our goal here is not deprivation. It's a sustainable lifestyle that you will enjoy and appreciate. And so, as you think about these tips that we provided tonight, think about what is something, or what are a few things that you can adopt from each category that feels exciting and energizing and doable and sustainable for you. You don't have to adopt every one of these suggestions. You just need to make these small shifts in your approach, so that you can still enjoy the things that you love in the moderation that will allow you to also maintain your health goals. And it is possible. If you feel excited by these ideas, but you don't really know where to start for yourself, please bring that up at your next appointment with Dr. Shill. That is part of what you are paying for when you come to us, is a customized approach where we can take your lifestyle and help you know what shifts to make to improve your life and to make your future the brightest that it can be. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Please join us next week to hear from Dr. Page. I know it'll be well worth your time. And then the week after that, for our last midsummer series session, we're going to talk all about eating out and how you approach eating out at restaurants, since it is summer and it's the time of celebrations and being with friends and letting loose a little bit. And it is possible to do that and still maintain your health goals. And we'll help you do it. Good night, everybody. Have a great night. We'll see you again next week.